Greetings, fellow gorehounds, and welcome back to a Blood Splattered vlog. I'm the Horror Guru.
And we do fucking things for you on this fucking program. I'm Count Jackula, and don't you goddamn forget it.
And he's Count Jackula, and today we're going to talk about Five Nights at Freddy's 2, directed by Tammi. Okay, so Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is a sequel to Five Nights at Freddy's 1, which we didn't really care for very much, and that kind of continues with this movie, to be completely honest. The movie follows the same characters from the first movie, but this time they're dealing with a new threat, a character named Charlotte, who is a ghost that is possessing the original incarnation of Freddy's restaurant, dead set on killing all the parents in the town. That's the,
This movie is a really good example of why lore isn't story.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. This movie started off with a lot of promise for me. It started off with a relatively high body count right off the bat, and it had a premise that I was able to sink my teeth into a little bit more. I actually kind of liked the whole Charlotte conceit. She was actually a more interesting villain than the villain from the first movie, but it ultimately doesn't deliver by the end of the movie. It does a lot of beats that I kind of expected it to do, but there's a whole lot of stuff it's set up that it does nothing with.
Yeah.
And I found that severely disappointing. Like, for example, the movie sets up, there's an entire like Freddy Fazbear like festival in the movie that has like nothing to do with what actually happens at the end of the movie. Yeah. I thought they were gonna like run amok and start like killing people left and right at the festival.
Well, that was the promise, but I've seen that promise broken so many times.
But instead,
I was like, nah, this movie is not gonna deliver on this shit.
Instead, we got like one scene of someone walking through the festival and like some people commenting that the costume looks fake. That's it. That's the whole scene. It's just like
all it amounts to.
A one-note joke, even though the whole movie felt like it was kind of building up to like an epic climax there.
Well, my fear is that they are like, well, that's going to be Five Nights at Freddy's 3, so
maybe.
I'm afraid there's going to be another one of these.
Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, unfortunately, I thought this movie was very middling and just kind of left me feeling empty by the end of it.
Yeah, I definitely wanted my time back.
Fair. The main problem with this movie ultimately is it has a whole lot of promising conceits that I feel like it continues to squander. And this is a problem I had with the first movie. The thing I really liked about like the first couple Five Nights at Freddy's games, because I didn't play all of them, I just played a couple of the first ones, is the original Five Nights at Freddy's games were just a guy in a security room watching security cameras and the monsters slowly creeping up on him. Well, the animatronic ghost kids.
Yeah.
Slowly creeping up on him. And I really thought that could make for an interesting, like, movie, right? Something like Last Shift. Someone in a single location, they're kind of stuck there, and they're being fucked with by ghosts and the animatronics, and, like, it slowly escalates until you get to, like, the crazy finale. Neither this movie nor the original movie were interested in actually doing that, and instead want to do all this stuff outside of the restaurant. The brother and the sister and their relationships, and I just don't care about any of it.
Yeah.
I would rather have had this smaller, more intimate horror movie than this attempt to try to create this bigger, more grand story that they clearly don't have the budget to actually pull off. So they keep doing things like, oh, hey, we're going to have this epic finale in this fucking festival, but instead of doing that, we're just going to have the finale take place in a house.
Yeah. I don't know why they, whatever.
It's kind of lame. I'm like, in the house, not even in the fucking, like, at least the first movie, had an epic finale that took place in the actual, like,
in the
restaurant.
Freddy in the restaurant.
Yeah. The movie is not funny enough to have the lighthearted tone it's trying to go with.
No.
Like, I feel like if it wants it, it should be more overtly a horror comedy, because it's still trying to take itself very seriously.
Well, you can tell that it is very, very safely trying to be a PG-13 horror movie.
Yes. And that's another problem I have with the movie.
It's a huge problem.
All of the actual kills in this movie are utterly uninteresting because it basically cuts away before anything interesting happens.
Yeah.
My favorite part in this movie is actually one of the earlier scenes where a bunch of people are entering, the new location that they established in this movie. And, they're killed off one by one.
Yeah.
And that scene is probably one of the best scenes in the movie because that's one of the rare scenes in the movie where it's actually a fucking horror movie. Even with that being the best scene, you get like these cool setups that it just cuts away from. because it can't show gore,
Yeah.
it can't show blood, so it's just going to cut away
Yeah,
from
it's
it.
just going to cut away from it like a really bad episode of Supernatural.
Yeah, and it's just so fucking lame, you know? Like, I'd rather watch Willy's Wonderland. At least you get to see people die in that one, you know?
Willy's Wonderland is a lot more fun.
You know, absolutely. And I have my problems with Willy's Wonderland, but it's still more entertaining than either of these two fucking movies.
Well, I feel like Willy's Wonderland, like, spiritually was the movie everyone actually wanted.
It's a lot closer to what I would want, right?
Yeah.
But what I mean when I say, like, the tone is kind of weird for me is that, like, one of the main characters of this movie is the cop lady from the first movie.
Yeah.
Who, as established in the first movie, is the daughter of the serial killer who started this whole thing.
Right.
She's obviously dealing with a whole lot of trauma and a whole lot of trauma over not only what her father did, but what she did to help him do that. And I am not feeling 1 ounce of that trauma at all in this movie.
Oh.
Even though they try to.
I didn't care one bit.
Like, they try to fucking, like, inject that in some of those scenes. And I do understand that Five Nights at Freddy's at this point, and even though the games actually feel less like this than the movies do, Five Nights at Freddy's at this point is definitely, like, intended to be, like, a kid's horror franchise. Though I would argue that the games felt more intense than any of these movies do.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like, well, let me put it this way. Like, yes, times have changed, but you got to remember that, like, Poltergeist was PG.
Yeah, the Five Nights at Freddy's movies feel like Nickelodeon original movies.
Yes.
That are trying to fucking play at, like, being a horror movie, but it's still like a Nickelodeon movie at the end of the day.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's still Halloween Town. You know?
Well, that would be like a Disney one.
Well,
but
that'd be a
sure.
Disney one, yeah.
Sure.
You know?
The only reason why I say Nickelodeon and not Disney is because the Disney ones have a little bit more schmaltz to them than this actually does.
Fair.
Like, this movie could probably use some schmaltz to at least give it a little bit more emotional oomph at times.
Give it something.
But it doesn't even have that, so... The problem with talking about Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is I was just left feeling empty by the end of it. And it's hard to talk about something that just leaves you feeling like,
I'll say this, because I'm a fucking curmudgeon. I feel about the movie about the same way I felt about the games. Big
Fair.
Yeah, the games weren't my favorite either. I thought they were really overblown.
I'll take the games over this at least, because at least the games made me shit my pants a couple times, you know?
The movie lacks so much, it's hard to fucking point at anything that would fix it.
Yep. There are a multitude of things that need to be fixed.
If you're like a Five Nights at Freddy's super fan and you know all the lore, I'm sure you're going to love this movie.
Sure. We're not the audience for that.
Not the audience for it. I hated it.
And with that said, let us move on to the spoilers. I don't know what else we'll talk about, but we'll talk about the spoilers. So here we go. Back in the day at the original Freddy Fazbear's restaurant, a little girl basically uncovered the serial killer from the first fucking movie. I can't remember his name, but he's played by Matthew Lillard.
Yeah, William Afton.
Yeah, something like that. Basically uncovers him taking kids and turning them into animatronics in the back room. Tries to run from him and save one of the kids that he was gonna fucking kill. And she ends up getting stabbed and dying in front of a room full of adults that don't seem to give a shit and don't seem to react and don't do anything about the fact that a little girl is dying in front of them.
Yeah.
So her soul is trapped inside this restaurant, but she can't leave it because it's tethered to this marionette doll that can't leave the restaurant because there's like these locks set in place.
Yeah. They set that up with the first one. I think.
There are locks that stop them from leaving the premise of the thing. So when a group of paranormal researchers show up at the restaurant and go to investigate it for their YouTube channel, she possesses one of them and kills the rest. And this kicks off a series of events that leads to her eventually escaping and befriending the main character's little sister so that she can kill all the adults in the town that she blames for her death. Which, to be fair to her, I was kind of on her side throughout this movie because the adults were fucking terrible at the beginning of the movie.
Terrible, yeah.
I was just like, Jesus, you're not even gonna fucking do anything when she's bleeding in front of you.
I think one of my biggest this movie has one of my biggest pet peeves in it.
Yeah.
Which is too much plot, not enough story.
Yes, that's true of the first movie too.
It is.
There's a lot of plot in this movie, but I'm not feeling any of the story.
Yeah.
The little girl wants revenge on the adults that let her die and did nothing. That's story.
Yeah.
All this extra steps to fucking get to the point where she's actually going after the parents, which literally only encompasses like the last 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. Well, the thing that's annoying is that the animatronics themselves, you could absolutely remove them and have the same story.
Yes.
They're completely unnecessary.
Yes, they're only there so at the end of the movie, the old animatronics from the first movie can burst in and save the day.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing I find very fucking boring about these Five Nights at Freddy's movies. The animatronics cease to be a scary thing to me once it's established in the first movie that they're just like good kids.
Yeah.
They're just her friend.
Well, yeah, like there's no terror. There's no scare.
And I realized that while watching this movie that it even took away from when an actual animatronic is a threat. I'm still sitting there going like, yeah, but you know, they can just turn her heart around and she'll probably be a friend by movie 3 or something.
You know, like, whatever.
You know, like an anime villain that they defeat and then like in the next arc, they're helping them fight the next bad guy.
Yeah, but you know what you could have done to make that work?
Yeah.
Actually make the friendship between the animatronics and the girl, like, I don't know, the focus of the first movie.
That's the other thing. I honestly feel like the little girl does not feel like the main character of the movie, and I feel like she should be.
Yeah, no, she totally should be.
Josh Hutcherson is the main character of the movie, and here's the thing about him in this movie. I hated him in this movie.
Yeah.
Not just his performance and whatnot, that was already kind of dull from the get-go. I hated the way the character was written in this movie because it made no goddamn sense. There is a point in this movie in which the cop lady is like, oh, your sister went to Freddy Fazbear's original restaurant. She's in danger.
Right.
And he just goes, why do you always have to make things like a problem? And it's just like, he goes on this huge rant, like we were so normal beforehand or whatever. And I'm sitting there going like, whoa, none of that fucking matters. Your daughter is reconnecting with the dangerous fucking spirits. Your little sister. Your little sister.
That's another problem.
Your little sister. You're right. It's not daughter. It's little sister. In a good story, you could write it in a way where that kind of like miscommunication scene makes sense, but it didn't actually make sense in the context of this movie. So it just irritated me.
No.
Like his reaction made no sense to anything that happened earlier in that movie. If you want that to happen, you need to watch him get building up more and more like anger towards her in the movie and then have that outburst there at the wrong moment. Yeah. But everything was going fine for them earlier in the movie. Like they went on a date.
Okay, yeah.
And he did that. And so that just came out of fucking nowhere. You know, and then at the end of the movie where they tried to pull this whole like, oh, I can't trust you because your evil brother's here. It's like, what do you mean you can't trust her? She's helped you the entire fucking movie. Oh, because her brother's evil? Your genetics are bad. Like, what is this shit? The only thing he did in the movie that made logical sense to me when he went to the restaurant from the first movie and asked the fucking animatronics to help them at the end.
Yeah.
That was the only plot point where I'm like, okay, the brother's choice here makes sense. You know, fight animatronics with animatronics. I get it, you know?
Yeah.
The whole movie setting up this whole fucking like, hey, there's gonna be this Fazbear festival. Everyone's gonna fucking be there. Even the fucking villain of the movie, the evil brother who shows up at the end of the movie, says that they're gonna fucking go and ransack that goddamn place.
Yeah, and then it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. What ends up happening instead is they end up sieging Josh Hutcherson's home, and the other animatronics come and save the day. I'm not gonna trust you anymore because of your evil brother. Yeah. And then the sheriff, or not the sheriff, the cop ends up getting possessed by the fucking marionette.
Yeah.
Setting up the next movie. And then, of course, they also set up in the post-credits scene, Matthew Lillard character is going to return in the next movie.
Yeah. And
I'm just like, I don't fucking care.
I did not give a single fuck.
By that point in the movie, I'm just like, I can't believe I sat through the credits for that. Like... So Five Nights at Freddy's 2, marginally better in my opinion than the first movie, but still not good. And with that said, where can they find you, Count Jackula?
You can find me here on YouTube every weeknight at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, wiping my ass with a Freddy Fazbear doll. And I have just taken a huge taco shit. How about you?
Y'all know me, I'm the Horror Guru. You can find me at the Horror Guru on various social media platforms, but these days I primarily use Blue Sky, so follow me on there. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you're notified of our videos immediately upon their upload. If you'd like to help out either of us more directly, be sure to check out our Patreon pages, and remember, if you decide to go the Patreon route, even $1 a month can go a long way, but we will certainly accept more. And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, if you made it this far into the video, I want you to comment below, and be sure to comment below using the hashtag We Are Not Seeing 3. I know you're going to request it, but hashtag We Are Not Seeing 3.
No.
We obviously do not enjoy these movies, and I don't think people are going to enjoy us shitting on them as much as they think they are, because last time we shit on them, we had a whole lot of fans who were really butthurt in our comments. So we're just going to avoid the third one when it comes out. Yeah. It's probably better for everyone.
Trust me, it's better for you.
You guys can enjoy the Five Nights at Freddy's movies, and we'll talk about other movies.
Yeah,
because
we out.
We out. And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, peace out, and we'll catch y'all later.